Seeing a wild animal in a city-state like Singapore may seem peculiar to many. Within our bustling city, it's not uncommon to find a variety of wildlife. Despite our small land size, Singapore boasts of a variety of natural habitats from dryland, tropical rainforests, mangroves, and coral ecosystems. Even within the built environments of our cityscape, coupled with the restoration of green spaces into our urban environment, nature and wildlife have been brought closer to our everyday lives, allowing a range of wildlife to call our biophilic city in nature home. Nature and wildlife occupy a crucial role within our ecosystems, helping to pollinate plants, regulate our food web, serve as apex predators, and provide pest control to maintain a healthy and balanced ecosystem. Yet, their presence is often met with mixed reactions. For some, it's a delight, and for others, it's an uncomfortable interaction. While there is no silver bullet for human-wildlife conflict mitigation, the goal of transforming Singapore into a city in nature offers a powerful vision of how we might re-envision a relationship with our very own wild neighbours.
I see a city in nature in a couple of different ways. One would be kind of a physical city in nature where people can go about their lives in their space, but around them, wildlife are also doing the same.
A city in nature is a highly livable place that achieves its ecological, climate, and social resilience through nature-based solutions and community greening efforts.
The ideal city in nature to me would be where we have robust and healthy ecosystems that are well connected to one another. And these include variation in ecosystems, whether they're green spaces or mangroves.
Singapore is not just home to our citizens, but also to a balanced and healthy ecosystem of flora and fauna.
So I envision a city in nature the way our founding father Lee Kuan Yew sort of started this, where he wanted the environment, like for example, he wanted Kallang River and Singapore River, which was devoid of fish back in the day, to actually improve and have fish and wildlife returning to Singapore. And a city in nature to me is about us living in harmony with our wild neighbours.
Human-wildlife coexistence to me means that we can share the same natural spaces between humans, wildlife, and domestic animals in a safe manner.
Is about respecting your neighbours. Whether it's human or wildlife, it is about a harmonious living. It's about respecting and sharing earth.
So when it comes to coexisting with wildlife, we need to know what these animals are and how we can adapt our lifestyles to live harmoniously with them.
Some examples of this would be things like, watching bats flying around a street lamp, or even things like watching a paradise tree snake on a tree, giving the snake sufficient distance where we can admire it, but at the same time giving it space so that it'll be able to move off onto the next tree without it feeling disturbed.
Wild boars and snakes, they are generally shy creatures and they will tend to avoid humans, but they will have adverse reaction when they are provoked or threatened. For wild animals like this, we need to know what to do when we encounter them. First, we do not feed wildlife, and you need to give them their space, and you must also slowly move away if they are seen very near you so that they can have space to retreat.
If we do not respect wildlife, we're going to affect the biodiversity balance that is going on. It's no different from a human community where you take away a very important person, like you take away a doctor, you take away an educator. Now this whole community will collapse. So in the bigger picture of biodiversity, every animal, including humans, has a role to play. And we need to coexist and rely on each other to keep Earth going as it is.
At a bare minimum, I think coexistence means tolerance, to be able to just live with the diversity around us. But I think what's more important, what we should strive for, is not just tolerance, but celebration. We're enlivened, we're enriched, we feel joyful, we celebrate is something to be very happy and proud about, that we can actually have wildlife doing very natural things in the environment just all around us every day.
Singapore is going through a transition phase as we progress towards the Singapore Green Plan and a city in nature. I think we're all learning how to relive, with natural spaces and also with our native wildlife.
Yeah, every native species in Singapore has a huge role to play in our ecosystem for keeping it healthy. So, for example, when we have the whales, when we hear the whoo sound, we actually know that the crow population is in check. Another example would be the pythons. If we see pythons in our neighborhood near the drains, we know that the rat population is in check. And another example I can give is when you see bats flying around, those little bats, they are actually insect bats. And when you see them there, you know that the mosquito population is taken care of.
To me, a dream coexistent model for Singapore is for our population to know that wildlife is always in our midst, and we need to be willing to adapt our lifestyle to their presence.
There was this one instance where I received a call while I was on rescue shift. This caller told me that there is a snake within indoors. So when we arrived at that location, the snake was actually already been poured with hot boiling water. Things like this can happen, especially at a moment of certain emotions where somebody feels scared, panic, and they resulted to doing this.
As long as animals and people are still getting injured by one another, there's definitely still work that needs to be done. And the challenge there is how to minimize these risks, to our wildlife, and how to keep humans, wildlife, and domestic animals safe. Some of the ways that we could overcome and mitigate the risks of coexistence and risks of the urban habitat to our native wildlife, a big one to me would be education.
How we can achieve this is through education and our constant outreach to the general public. This would include having school pre-talks ranging from the preschool to primary school and then to the secondary school. What we are doing would help to create a new generation of Singaporeans who, from the young, they know what coexistence is, and when they grow up, coexistence would be second nature to them.
Our Wild Neighbours, OWN for short, is a collaborative effort among the various nature groups in Singapore. So how this initiative came to be is because we realized that there is a lack of understanding towards our wildlife, as well as the lack of preparedness when we encounter wild animals.
While we enjoy being outdoors in nature, having the trees and the plants, and for example the mangroves, around us, also comes with it, all the different biodiversity that live in these habitats, whether it's the insects or the butterflies, the birds, mammals, reptiles, so on and so forth.
From what I understand, there's a few things that are involved. One would be actually getting people exposed early on, giving people a safe opportunity to experience nature. And that can come apparently from something as simple as we shouldn't stigmatize anybody for saying, why is it that you're afraid of this little bug? It won't. I think we just need to be sensitive and accept that there are going to be very different approaches to how we can get people to not only, again, tolerate nature, but maybe even begin to celebrate and feel joy in their hearts when they see it.
Our natural biodiversity is also our natural heritage, and it's something that is truly unique to Singapore.
I dream of a day when we have a city in nature be one that transforms not just the physical landscape, but transforms the way we see the world, the way we feel about the world, the way we care and take pride in the world around us, everywhere.
I have one wish, and my one wish here is that Singaporeans be a bit more tolerant in their day-to-day activities when it comes to respecting their wild neighbours.
We don't have to be best friends with our neighbours, but we have to be able to learn how to live next to one another.
The great biologist Charles Darwin ended his passage on the origin of species by saying, there is grandeur in this view of life. And that's something that I carry around in my heart as I walk around and see the wonders of nature all around me.